All right, it's time to get that party started. So it's tier list time. We're going to finally get to actually rating every multi-tool from major brands. That's what we're doing today. And yeah, not only are we going to do the tier list, we're also going to answer questions about the different companies. So this is sort of like some preliminary information about how we're doing it and what to expect and how you guys can participate. So try to keep in mind the types of questions that you want to ask about each company. And we're going to kind of have a section where we're going to answer questions. And I'm going to go back to the stream and talk about those questions. So we'll have SOG first, then questions about SOG or multi-tools that they make. Then we'll do Victorinox, then we'll do Gerber, and then Leatherman at the end. And there will, after every section, we will answer some questions. So kind of save those up because I won't be seeing anything in the chat until the end of each section. Okay, so feel free to chat, say whatever, but save all those questions because I won't be able to see them till we get there. Okay. All right. No, same backdrop as always. Same backdrop as always. It's just dark back here, so you can't really tell what's going on. So here, let me show you guys what is the tier list that we're going to be doing. All right, we'll wait another minute or so, and then I will explain what's going on with this, because eventually I'm going to take this video, I'm going to trim it down a little bit so people can just see the tier list and my reasoning behind it. All right. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hump day. Good to see everyone here. I'm actually pretty excited about this because I've been wanting to do a tier list for a long time, and I just didn't have the right way to approach it, and I finally figured it out, so I'm happy. Yeah, the hat was made by Patriot Leather Goods for me. Very nice. So I'm wearing that today for the stream. Okay, so this is going to be a multi-tool tier list, but it's not going to work like a normal tier list where you go from the worst tool all the way up to the best tool. Context is everything. Depending on what you do for a living and what your needs are, that's going to change the rating system. So instead, this is actually rated differently. Starting at the top, you have irreplaceable multi-tools, something that no other multi-tool can do in the market, right? So if it were to be lost, we would have a big gaping hole. An example of this is the discontinued Leatherman Crunch. Rest in peace. That's a great example of an irreplaceable tool. We don't have anything else that's a folding, compact, locking vice grip multi-tool. That's an example. And then we're going to go down. Staple category is a little bit different in that they kind of are the bread and butter. They're really, really good at what they do. They last for a good amount of time. People really like them. They're just like well-rounded. They do it all. Okay. And then, of course, we have tools that are just like so-so, and then tools that we don't really care too much about. They can kind of go because something has been, coming out better than it. And then, of course, we have tools that are just absolutely awful. And the last category is just not tested. There's a few of them, not too many, but a few that I haven't tested. In fact, I ordered them, and hopefully we'll be reviewing them soon. So that's the basic way that we're going to approach this list. And it's only going to be plier-based multi-tools that are kind of full size, anything bigger than keychain. So we'll have smaller plier-based multi-tools like the Skeletool, etc. And then we'll also have the full size. That's where we're at. So there we go. We are going to get started here I guess we could start now with SOG. So I'm going to go over to the tier list. At this point, you're not going to be able to communicate with me until we're done with SOG. And then I'll come over and we'll answer questions. So feel free to chat and then we'll get to it. Okay, starting with SOG. I have some tools that I simply haven't tried yet. The Power Assist is one of those tools. And as we'll talk about later, This tool probably wouldn't make it past the passable tier, even if I had, and assuming it was the best SOG multi-tool out there in full size. And the reason is that nearly all SOG multi-tools out there that use the compound leverage system, they're made in 420 stainless. The highest hardness they have is about 53. And because the gearing is part of that frame, they start to warp, they start to bend. And I've never seen a good review of a compound leverage system after a year of hard use. That's basically the thing that they're going to struggle with the most. There are a few exceptions on this list, but that's probably where it'll end up. If even if I did try it, and I have ordered it, so we'll hopefully take a look soon. All right, so the next one is the Power Lock, and this is the V cutter variation. I've actually handled this tool, and the internal implements on this are actually really good. In fact, the tool set on the Power Lock, the scissor version, and the V cutter version is probably the best tool set that they offer. Genuinely, I think the internal tool set that they have chosen here is fantastic. Um, it's at least passable, at least, and arguably almost a staple. The problem is the same problem, basically, because they're made in 420, not 420HC or a harder steel. The compound leverage system eventually wears out, and it's a sort of an older model, and they haven't updated it to have a better gear ratio. So you really have to open the handles really far in order to grab certain nuts. But I have nothing but good things to say about the shape of the plier head. I'm going to leave it in the staple category for now. This is true for not only that version, but also the regular. It's actually the scissor version. I'd put even a little bit higher. I actually like that tool set. Oh, it's almost perfect. I wouldn't go with the partially serrated blade, but honestly, it's not that bad. So these two, probably the best full size tools that they make right now. That's my thoughts on those tools. Okay, the Flash MT. Now, I actually, how do I say this? I had a lot of high hopes for this, especially after playing with the PowerPoint. The problem is that they didn't match the gear ratio. That is, they did the plier head doesn't open as far as you would think for when you open the handles. So you almost have to use two hands to grab something. It's not ideal. Something that I'll talk about with the PowerPoint. Flash MT was a little bit disappointing for that reason. It had a assisted blade for some reason, a D2 blade, which is great, but assisted blade. And that made it like potentially a hazard to open in people's pockets. And some jurisdictions are going to have issues with it. It's just, it was close, but not quite there. At 4.6 ounces, it had a lot of potential. The other thing that was the problem with it is that it uses a 4mm bit stored under this little piece of plastic. And there's not enough surface area on that 4mm bit when you're attaching it to the pliers for it to not rotate. You have to hold it so tight in order for it to function. And for that reason, it's irrelevant, right? It's not dumpster fire, but it's definitely not something I would consider passable at this point. All right, so the next one, the Power Access. So this is one of the newer tools. It has the ability to hold a 1/4-inch bit driver on the back. And I can tell you, this is the worst SOG multi-tool that currently exists. It's not even close. It's not close. This is a disaster. The handles are so uncomfortable. It's like jagged edges everywhere. The implements that they have inside are absolutely awful. The file is unusable. The ratio obviously is bad, but to be fair, they only have two tools that have a good gear ratio. It's just a dumpster fire. There's no other way to say it. Power Access, not a good tool. Now, if this is your only tool and this is your favorite tool, please don't think I'm trying to attack you in any way. It's kind of like you've never had Italian food and you go to, Olive Garden, and that's your reference point, right? Like you just haven't gotten to the higher tiers yet. That's all. And that's fine. But yes, the Power Access is really, really bad. That's all I could say. Okay, the Power Leader. The Power Leader. So this is one of the two small tools in SOG's lineup that are carrying this company so hard right now. It's because they have the better gear ratio. This is 4.6 ounces. And what's really amazing about the power leader, even though it's a little wider, it has this latch that holds the frame together, which makes it into a truly like an easy to use screwdriver when it's holding the bit. It really does a good job. I wish they could use the same frame size as the PowerPoint, but have that latch. That would be amazing. But it still absolutely qualifies as an irreplaceable tool. It's super light. It's where the compound leverage system shows the best because the handles are short, right? You get additional leverage from it by having the gear ratio, but you can't apply enough force to the handles to actually bend or deform the gearing. It's the perfect combination. They really nailed it with this one. Definitely a good choice. Now, here is a weird one. The Agus MT, when I first saw it, I was pretty disappointed with it and I was a little confused. I don't know many hipster electricians that want this tool, this color combo and all that other stuff. But what did kind of stick out to me now that I'm looking at it again is it's only 2.4 ounces. It's very, very, very light. And it has these really long cutter sections in the pliers. And just like the power leader, it it is small and it really takes advantage of the compound leverage. That actually made sense. Do I like the tool set? Not really. I mean, besides the pliers, the blade is sort of irrelevant. You know what I would have taken over that? A screwdriver, just like a built-in like 4 millimeter bit driver, just anything along those lines. A screwdriver plus that plier would have been just so good. But definitely it's passable. It could even be a staple potentially. I don't know. I'm going to come back to this when we do the reorganization at the end. I'm probably going to reorganize a lot of these. PowerPoint. This thing is absolutely carrying SOG right now. No question. And it is better than the power leader in general. This thing comes in under 40 bucks. It's 4.3 ounces. It's amazing to me how good this tool is, how well it sells, and they haven't built everything else around what they've learned from it. It's got high tool density. It's only got a couple of tools that are kind of mediocre, the scissor and the file mostly. Like file on mine's pretty good, but it's inconsistent. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty damn good. I mean, I gotta say, it's impressive that they were able to pull that off. And you can buy them really cheap, like really cheap. You can find them on AliExpress. You can find them on Amazon. Yeah, they nailed that one. Power Access Deluxe. It's the same as the Power Access with a better tool set, slightly, just ever so slightly, but it's also much heavier. It's at the very bottom of the irrelevant tier and kind of really approaching that dumpster fire. Like it's really close. You know what? I'm going to put it in the relevant category for now. That's where I'm going to leave this thing. Okay, and then the Power Access Assist multi-tool. Here's the problem. I know it's going to be worse than the Power Assist because it's one of the newer models that's made in the same platform as the Power Access Deluxe and the Power Access. And it's also the heaviest one. Let me check my notes at 10.7 ounces. So once again, I don't think it's going to come past the passable category, and it's probably just going to be an irrelevant one. And it does have a better tool set, however, than the Power Assist to some extent. So it's hard to say. I'm getting them both in. Hopefully, we'll check them out in the near future. So there's where we have it. Actually, pretty even distribution. Until I saw this now, I didn't even realize that it would be so even. They're all over the spectrum. Yeah, pretty interesting. So that's SOG for you. Let's see what we have for questions. Let me go over here. So make sure we can see everything. We can. Good. Now, is there anything you guys want me to talk about specifically with SOG? We could take a few minutes here. Actually, we're flying through this, so I'm pretty happy with it. All right, let's take a look. Any questions we have relating to SOG specifically? If you got Leatherman questions, you're gonna have to wait till the Leatherman section. Specifically, want to make sure I'm getting to anything relating to SOG. So if you got any questions, now's the time to ask. We'll take just a minute or two and we'll answer any questions. I'll put them up and then we'll talk about it. No? No questions? Oh, that's a really good question. So I would have loved to include them both here on this list. Unfortunately, they have discontinued the Sync 1 and the Sync 2, which is the ones you're referring to. I adore them. Surprisingly, I didn't expect it, but they're actually kind of amazing. And it turns out there's a lot of people in the country that really like them. When I posted my short on it, I couldn't believe the response. I think the Sync 1, specifically the smaller variation, has a lot of potential. It's a much stronger plier than people realize. They used to make a travel version, which is the one I own. It's awesome. I wish they still made it, but they found a way to just get rid of that system with the buckle and just had it so you could put it in your pocket. That would be great. This is not exactly for SOG, but I'm definitely gonna talk about this question because funny enough, that is exactly what I was planning on doing. I wanted to start with SOG and talk about what they could do to kind of become number one. And so I'll be doing something like that in the near future. Okay. Love the PowerPoint. A suggestion of a bit kit or extender to carry with it. Good question. A couple of people have suggested different things. The ratcheting bit driver from Leatherman can be held with the PowerPoint if you want to. Uh, I've seen some pretty cool adaptations with this. I don't know. Let me think. A specific bit kit. I would go with, I don't know. If the thing is if Leatherman bits work, and I think they do, then you could go with the Weeha double-sided bits. And if you do that, you'll be able to get a lot more density in your kit. So I have to double check that. I have to double check it. That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll start thinking about it. All right. So I'm seeing questions about Leatherman. We're not doing Leatherman questions just yet, guys. You got to wait. I'm trying to make it so that when people come and see the video that they can actually follow along, if that makes sense. That's a good question. The PowerPoint and the Fix-It sticks, I don't see why it wouldn't work, especially if one side of the Fix-It stick had a quarter-inch to quarter-inch connector, because then you could use it as an extender, but then you could use it also as a separate screwdriver. In fact, now that you mention it, that's a very good system. And you can buy their cheapest one, which has 8 bits total and gives you that huge T handle. So you'd be able to have a real variety in addition to having the bits. So actually, that would be a good one. That would be a great choice, in fact. So I like that. Good suggestion for sure. Uh, did you ever try their bottom series of multi-tools question mark? I'm not sure which ones you're referring to. If you have a specific one that you're talking about, I can talk about it. There's two that I haven't tried yet. So I'm getting those. All right. Does your SOG PowerPoint ever accidentally become assisted? Assisted. So I'm not sure exactly what you're saying. One thing I have noticed about the PowerPoint, if the gearing is really nice and smooth, and over time, it does start to loosen up in the pocket, especially because the pocket clip is oriented from the tool side. So it can kind of fall open a little bit. I don't know if that's something that you guys have experienced. I did have that happen. So you want to tuck it in such that it doesn't open inside your pocket. That's one thing I did notice about the PowerPoint. The SOG Kilowatt. I Is this a model that they still have? The one thing that I don't know if I can't remember if I said I didn't or didn't, but this list only includes tools that are currently being carried by SOG. So it doesn't include tools that are discontinued by any of the manufacturers. So anything that is not available on their website, I'm not covering. So things like the Sync 1 and Sync 2, the kilowatt, um, uh, the what do they call it? I forget. There's a lot of different models, but I didn't include anything that wasn't currently available as of right now, which is April of 2024. So yeah. So it's like a knife without a tools. Yeah. So I was only talking this time around about plier-based multi-tools. All right. So I'm going to take another minute or two here, and then we're going to go to Victorinox, which doesn't. They only have two different types, like platforms, but they have a lot of variations. So anything else? Anything else while we're here? All right. I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to go ahead and go over to Victorinox, and then we'll see where we are. Kind of think in your head if there's any questions specifically about Victorinox or their lineup that you'd like answered. And when we get to the end and we're done with this whole thing, I will absolutely answer any other questions as well. I just want to kind of put this in nice little groups. All right. Are the internal pieces that look like nail pullers on the power plant and power leader functional? Nail pullers. What I've used them for is using it as a bottle opener. I think I'm not 100% sure what you're referring to. It could be the spring tension bar, which of course you don't want to mess with because you could break it. Um, but there are a lot of edges on the power plant that you can use for various different things, like including opening a bottle. I've never had a problem. Never needed to actually open a bottle opener to open anything. So it was a good question. So if I had to pick one of the two, it would be the power pint for sure. It's a lot narrower and it has, I think, a slightly more useful tool set. If I could have the power pint, but give up the serrated blade and the file for that latch mechanism that would hold it together, I would do that in a heartbeat. Unfortunately, I can't combine the two. But yeah, the power pint for sure, 100%. Could other platforms adopt the driver system like the power pint? They could, but here's the thing. The more I think about it, the more I realize that the compound leverage system, if done correctly, would be the best version of a multi-tool. I know that's weird for me to think of now, but they've never fully utilized its maximum potential. Um, I think what makes it so good at holding the bits is you're increasing the amount of pressure you can hold on that bit, which allows you to do it with your hand. If you didn't do that, you would always have to have a latch of some sort to hold the thing in place to keep the bit from spinning in whatever socket that it's attached to. So technically, yes, but none will do it quite as well, I don't think. All right. Well, power pint pyroliter versus juice. I mean, it doesn't, in this particular context, it doesn't matter because you can't get the juice series anymore, right? But even if I could get the juice series, I would pick the power pint because the power pint actually has stronger pliers than the juice. Believe it or not. And I tell you, I'm not a huge SOG fan. I don't carry many SOG tools, but I would still pick the power pint. The only reason not to is if you live in a place where there is laws against locking implements. All right. At this point, I'm going to take a break from this and we're going to move on to Victorinox. This is going to be a good one. Obviously, Victorinox, real high quality. All right. Okay, so we're going to start with the Victorinox tools and we're begin with the Spirit XBS. So it's the naming conventions are a little confusing. Hopefully, I can explain as we go. So what makes this different? The only reason this is even part of the consideration is in addition to a standard Spirit X, this thing also has a crimper. Okay, and the thing is it's significantly more expensive. In fact, let me check my notes here. So we have, I think it's $190. Let me double check this. XBS. $200. Yeah. The Spirit XBS, which basically just has one change plus it's black, is 80, 70 or $80 more. Yeah, it's passable. That's about all it gets because it's just so much more expensive to get the black variation, just so much more. Okay, it's a good tool though. Let's be clear. I mean, Victorinox, they do a very good job. They're using the same steel that they use in-house. Everything is built like incredibly well. Everything goes together incredibly well. It's like a well-oiled machine. It in every way kind of reminds you of a Swiss watch. Like that's kind of the way these things are built. No question, quality is excellent on these tools, and they have a lifetime warranty. One thing I want to mention about Victorinox in general, and this is a problem I've noticed with my Swiss tools, is that if you use the plier head a lot, they will start to get some play in the pivot. I can start to feel it a little bit, and that's something you just got to be aware of. I wish they didn't have that issue, but something with the peening, it does start to loosen up over time. Makes it very smooth, but it's definitely something of note. Okay, Swiss tool. I mean, it's a staple. The Swiss tool is pretty awesome. The thing about the Swiss tool specifically, which is not the Swiss tool X, is that it does not have a scissor. It has a serrated and a non-serrated blade, along with a file and a saw. The tool set is pretty good, but this was the first tool they came out with, and they have since improved on it, I think. And it's okay. Its quality is incredible. It'll last a lifetime, but it's not the best version that they have. But even the worst Swiss tool is probably better than most tools out there. Okay. The Swiss tool black. So basically it's the same thing, only it's just more expensive with a crimper and it's black. Yeah. I'm almost want to put it in the I'm putting it in the irrelevant tier. At least with the Spirit, it's the scissor version and it's a lot more compact. And with the pocket clips that you can now buy for them, it's a little bit better. I would never buy this, the Swiss Tool BS. I have no idea why it even exists. Anyway, okay. So the Swiss Tool MX clip. All right. I want to put it up there for now. I just do with my tool. Here it is. I'm actually carrying that tool right now. This has been my go-to EDC tool since it came out practically. I've made a couple adjustments because deployment's a little bit rough. It does require a lot more force than the Swiss tool does for some reason, but the ergonomics are better. It's 7.9 ounces. It's super thin. It's super awesome. Is it irreplaceable though? I don't know if it's irreplaceable. I don't know if it's irreplaceable. Because like one-handed blade, which is the new thing, and then it has the chisel, which is kind of awesome. I mean, it has a pretty complete tool set. This is gonna be my like personal pick. I don't feel like anything replaces the Swiss Tool MX clip right now. In fact, I would put it here. Pretty obviously in that category. Maybe the PowerPoint's a little bit better. Maybe like that. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. I could go on for this, but we got a lot of tools to get through, so I'm going to keep going. All right, the Swiss Tool Spirit MXBS. So this is absolutely an irreplaceable tool. It's weird. In many ways, the MX clip is better because you have a saw instead of the second blade. But there's one thing that makes the MXBS so good is that it has a blade in a position such that the left-hander is capable of opening that serrated blade as easy as a right-hander would be with the straight blade. So it's one of very few tools on the market that genuinely functions for a left-hander almost the same as a right-hander. It's pretty damn close. And that makes it very unique in the marketplace, like really and truly unique. And specifically the Spirit version. The Spirit has a little bit better ergonomics than the Swiss tool. I like the combination tool of it so much better. Excuse me. And because it works for a left-hander, it gets into the irreplaceable tier, even though they're overcharging for the black oxide coating. It is a nice coating, though. I will say this. They do a really good job. It looks incredible. It's like an oil slick black. It's gorgeous. But you're paying a lot for it, but it is definitely an irreplaceable tool. I think they're 190. Let me check my list here. This tool 190. Yep. Still irreplaceable. All right, the Swiss Tool MX clip. So this is the same thing as the Spirit MX clip. It's just with a clip instead. And so this is going firmly in the staple category above the Power Lock. In fact, let me move this around correctly. So the Swiss Tool MX clip, I have that as well. Love it. The thing is, though, just in general, the Swiss Tool has better deployment than the Spirit, but worse ergonomics, and it's a lot heavier. And because the actual plier head is more blunt, it doesn't feel quite as versatile as the Spirit for some weird reason. So it's good, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make it to the irreplaceable tier because it's not as versatile as the Spirit. Okay. Swiss Tool X. I mean, this is just the strictly better version of the Swiss Tool, right? There you go. All right, Spirit X. Once again, another excellent tool. This is the one with the scissor. It's got all the things necessary. It's going to be legal in Germany. It's going to be legal in a ton of different places. It's very, very good at what it does. It's been around for a long time. People love this thing for good reason. It has no pinch. I mean, it's just a good tool, right? Period. It's a staple. It will last you a lifetime. It's super high quality. I don't know what else I need to say. All right. The Spirit or the Swiss Tool MXBS. So it's the same thing as with the Spirit. It's just slightly worse. Okay. Because it's the heavier variation. It has the older, outdated implements. And the thing about what's weird is that the Spirit actually has a more robust flathead. Like their pry tool on the Spirit is absolutely massive. Like it's super thick and burly. It's funny. It's more durable probably than the one on the Swiss Tool. In general, it's going to be a little bit worse, but still left-hand capable, right? Because it has both of those blades. So it's still fully irreplaceable right now, even though it's crazy expensive. All right. Actually, I mean, like you could see, there isn't much that Victorinox makes that isn't like up there in the tiers because their quality control, the implementation is so good. They have incredible tool density and everything just works together super well. All right, so let me go ahead and we're going to take a look at the questions from here on in. All right. So questions. Any questions specifically about Victorinox and their plier-based tools or anything related to Victorinox? Actually, let me do so people can see the list as we're going. So this is where we're at so far on this. Ooh. Yeah, this is the number one problem I had with my Swiss Tool Spirit. For some reason, it has nearly twice the needed strength to open things up with their nails than the standard Swiss tool. I don't know why they need to do that. I ended up modding mine so that it has less tension and it works great now. It's perfect. But that's a lot of work. Thankfully, the way the warranty works on the Victorinox, you actually can still get it repaired, which is awesome. What steel do they use? It's an in-house steel. It's a Sandvik steel. It's basically made by Sandvik. It's kind of, how do I describe it? It's somewhere underneath like 12C27, somewhere in like something like that. I don't know the exact formulation. None of them have replaceable cutters, unfortunately. But the benefit to not having replaceable cutters is that the plier heads can be a little bit stronger, right? So it's a give and take. Let's see. Any other questions that I missed? Oh, yeah. So the two Ranger grips that includes the large pliers, you're talking about the Delmont line. Those are technically discontinued. I know the one you're referring. I think there's one that's still available, and I think, but they're planning on like they're phasing it out. And the thing is there's no reason to even talk about that one. It kind of is a leftover to some extent. It's worse than their other plier-based multi-tools, and because of the shape that it takes, it looks like a like it's basically a very it's the wrong kind of dimension. Like the best thing about having a multi-tool is that you get to spread out all of the tools in a way that when you put it in your pocket, it lays flat, right? You get like this nice profile. You don't like stack it up twice. That's the problem with all of those things. Even if they're still very high quality. It's just that's the problem. All right, let's see what else. Is there one that has an excellent pry bar? The Spirit has the best prying tool, I think, almost in any tool, and part of the reason is because it's riveted. It's a riveted construction, so the flathead on this thing is an absolute monster. Even more so than the one that's in the Swiss tool. Although the one in the Swiss tool is also pretty damn beefy. But this one, I really like this one. I have used it for tons of prying things I should really not have done, and it holds up. So yeah, I would recommend any of the Spirit models. They're going to have that tool. I don't think there is a single one that doesn't. All right, let's see. Anything else that I missed? Yeah, I hope you're right as well. I think that John's video on Victorinox was so important and that we needed to have that conversation. I'm hoping that they listen. Uh, I will tell you, based on my understanding, is that Victorinox is far more observant, but they're also slower to move. I don't think they technically need that much. Uh, I don't know what it would take to move them, but if John's video doesn't, then I don't think anything else will. All right. Do you think a manufacturer will create a modular multi-tool that's an open platform anyone can create products for? Well, I mean, both of the two companies that are doing it now, Goat Tool and Roxxon, are both doing it. But we'll answer more questions like that a little later as well. They're both open source. All right, let's see. Did I hear right that you can mod a Swiss tool and not? Okay, so here's the thing about you need to understand about Victorinox and their warranty. They repair things on their tool. Even if you have made modifications, they will repair the very small parts that are covered under warranty, and they will do it on your tool. You might have to pay them for the fix, but they will fix it, which is so awesome. Like, let's say on my tool, which I've modified, the pliers go out of whack. They'll still warranty that. Even though I've made a couple of tang adjustments, they'll still warranty it. That's not necessarily true with Leatherman. I guess it could be, but more than likely that technically isn't covered, although they tend to be pretty lenient. But yeah, if you change the tang, like what I did is I opened up all the tools and I ground a little bit of it away to allow the tools to deploy a little bit easier from this spring. And yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be warranty capable. Sort of. They sell these really compact bit systems that are some of the best on the market. In fact, as a add-on for most multi-tools, I would just straight up buy these. Like the Victorinox little attachment is like the perfect fit for the Gerber center drive leather sheath. Like, and it gives you a screwdriver and all the bits you need. So yeah, they do have bit kit, but it's like a separate tool. They also have a small ratchet, which is very cool. So they technically do, but they're kind of expensive, but they're very high quality. All right. Any other questions relating to Victorinox? Let me see if I missed any. Cyber tool driver or long shift Phillips? I think what you mean is like an inline Phillips. I mean, the problem with the cyber tool, which is I think all of the cyber tools are discontinued as well, is that they use these ball D10 double-sided 4 mm bits, and that was like really confusing because they're super expensive. Like they're like $20, like $15 each. Like each of the little things, right? So if that had been like a standard magnetic 4 millimeter driver, God, that would have been awesome. And that would be amazing. And I would love to see that come back because I think it was really cool. And because it's 4 millimeter, it's small enough to fit into recessed screws, even though it's a bit driver. Technically, it was supposed to be quote unquote discontinued, but I'm still seeing it out there, just like some of these others, like the Delmont line. They mention that they're discontinued, but then they're still kind of having stock. I guess they're just trying to empty that. But they've actually formally said things like, "This is what we're discontinuing." Yeah, like like this was one of their tools that is announced that the Cyber tool and a bunch of others that were discontinued. They even discontinued my favorite, which is the manager, the little Victorinox manager, 58 millimeter. Yeah, if you like the Cyber tool, get one while you can. Yep, yep. But look, they got to make the decisions based on sales. And the thing about Victorinox is they're going to do that, and they don't wait. That's what they did. Is they're like, okay, we're going to stop making these. We're going to focus on the tools that are selling. That's what they got to do, right? That's what every company should be doing. So there you go. All right. Anything else before I move on to Gerber? We're moving along nicely. I still think we're going to need more than an hour, but we're moving along nice. Okay, I don't see any questions, so I'm actually going to go over to Gerber, and we'll talk about Gerber, and then we'll take a break from that and go to Leatherman. Okay. All right, so next up is Gerber, and we'll start with the Dual Force. This is actually one of my favorite new tools. I think as a tool set, it's amazing and maybe irreplaceable. A slip joint plier is really unusual right now. The problem is it's quality control. It's the only thing holding it back. But if I'm going to put the Power Pine up there, which has equal amounts of quality control issues, I think I have to put the Dual Force in irreplaceable, right? Like we don't have anything else like it. And the tool set is actually pretty awesome. If they just work on their quality control, this thing is going to be legitimately just awesome. And it does go on sale. I mean, I think there was a sale at one point. It was like $50, only for a short time, but it definitely was pretty awesome when it happened. Yeah, I don't have much more to say. The Dual Force is pretty cool. It's definitely a surprise. I was really excited when it hit the market. I'm still happy it exists, and I don't think there's anything else like it right now. Okay, the truss dumpster fire. Easiest decision ever. Like the truss is the definition of the word. It has the same tools as the NXT. It's just heavier and it has more mediocre tools in it. And it's uncomfortable to use and it's expensive for no reason. And it's just not a good quality tool, period. I'd argue that the Power Axis is even better than the truss. That's how much of a dumpster fire the truss is. It's just absolutely awful. Yeah, I don't even want to say anything more about it. It's just garbage. I absolutely I took one look at it, I played with it, I set it, put it back in the box, and sent it back. That's how I feel about it. Okay. The Crucial, it's a passable multi-tool. I think the thing they missed about this is for some reason they didn't emphasize the plier head. Like you see, it's so thin around the plier head for no reason. They could have potentially made it so much more of a competitor to the Skeletal had they just, I don't know, like made that plier substantial. Like they had the Gerber Octane for the longest time. That tool was incredible. I don't know why it didn't sell that well. It was just such a good design. It was what the Crucial should have been, but wasn't. Uh, it's still passable though. It's a light tool. It's one of the few tools in that small range, like the Power Pint, that you can actually consider. I mean, is it irrelevant though? I'm going to put it in irrelevant, and I'll explain why. I'm actually going to put it up here, and there's a reason for it. Maybe I'll just pull it up now. Okay, so yeah, here's why. Because the reason it's in the irrelevant category is because there's a strictly better version of this tool, and that's the Crucial Black, which has this draw cutter in addition to everything else. It's in a better color because it's black, and yeah, it's just better, and it's definitely passable. and it's because it has that extra tool where the Crucial has a carabiner and it still has a pocket clip. So that was sort of irrelevant. I don't think that having carabiner makes it bad, but at the cost of an additional tool, yeah, that's not good. So that's why. Now, if they both had a carabiner, obviously that would make sense, but it's replacing a tool for that. So that's why it's passable where the other one is irrelevant. There you go. Boom. All right, Center Drive Plus. Center Drive Plus. This is absolutely a staple. Like, I really like my center drive right now. I don't know why I waited so long to really commit and try it, but once you know that you can flip out that bit holder in order for it to grab thin items, if you know that trick and you know it exists, and you replace the really crappy carbide cutters with the speed steel cutters that I've talked about in past, the tool is awesome. I don't know what's more to say. It's awesome. And right now, it's one of the very few USA made, truly USA made tools out there. It has USA, big fat USA stamped on it. That's not going to be true with most of the tools on this list. None from SOG, zero. Um, I think up until this point in this list, not a single Gerber. There's a couple of more, but mostly they're not. So it's a big deal. And the Center Drive Plus is pretty good. Even with the partially serrated blade, but mine has a straight blade, and I like it even better. If you go to their custom shop, you can pick that variation. You can get a bunch of different colors. It's an awesome tool. I really like that Center Drive Plus. It's not not irreplaceable, not irreplaceable. No, that's not irreplaceable. It's a good staple though, for sure. Center Drive Rescue. It's like what? Why? Uh, I don't understand this tool at all. Okay, first of all, having a serrated blade inside that takes 6 steps to get access to never made sense in the first place. It really doesn't. Okay, never made sense. And having it just be a pull cutter, they have had other designs in the past that would have worked for that blade, that would allowed it to be both a blade and on the backside would have been a draw cutter. They could do that. They could do it like the Leatherman charge, but they didn't do that. I don't understand. Anyway, yeah, it's passable. It's still center drive. I just don't understand it. I don't get it uh, at all. Like even a little bit. Like why is it paired with the center drive for some reason? And then why is that one tool make it a rescue tool when you can just use any blade? Anyway, that's just my thoughts. All right, so the NXT. Okay, it was passable for a long time. Because of the weight, because of the cost, it was like $20 to $25. Now there's $35, and there's so many good budget tools out there. I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna go with it being irrelevant right now. Tough call. It's a tough call. It could be passable, barely, but the quality. You know what? The quality control really, it's hit or miss with that plier head. So yeah, and the blade on it is awful. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there for now. All right, MP800. I have not tried it yet, but I saw it was on sale on Gerber's website. So I'll probably be picking it up in the next couple of days because I actually think kind of a cool tool set. And it's one of the few butterfly opening tools that they have. So I have no idea where this will sit. I really don't. It could be anywhere. Okay, the MP600 bladeless. If you didn't know this exists, this is absolutely irreplaceable, 100%. It's one of the very few tools you can buy stock as is that doesn't have any blades. You can pull out the saw. It uses that rem grit style saw that you can pull out. It's got a really good pair of scissors, a good pair of pliers. It's just really different. And even though there are tools coming out that might eventually dethrone it, right now it's still irreplaceable. That will change probably in the next year or two. But right now, there's nothing else like it because it's completely bladeless. Not just a knife, but like no pointy things. Like this would be legal to carry in a ton of places that have locking blade laws or anything else. Like it's just a tool that has everything but a blade. So it's irreplaceable, period. Okay, MP600 blunt nose for the similar, well, I mean, it's not similar reasons, but let's be clear. This tool is absolutely irreplaceable. If you've never played with this thing, it is a beast of a tool, a beast of a tool. Doesn't have a scissor, which is fine. Could have one. I think it has a little bit too much redundancy in blades, but can't deny, man, the reputation this thing has, the ability it has to like bend some crazy stuff. It seems to be strong enough to hold up. I do wish they didn't put replaceable cutters on here because the whole point of the blunt nose is to have as much strength as possible. But I haven't heard any really big negatives relating to that change. It's an irreplaceable tool right now. In Gerber's lineup, and actually in general, there's almost no blunt-nosed, full-sized pliers out there. I think the center drive, it's a dual force and the MP600 blunt nose. That's it. And the dual force isn't exactly a substitute either. This one's really good, really really good. The MP600 blunt nose is irreplaceable, no question. Okay, the suspension is a dumpster fire on top of a dumpster fire. It could even be worse than the truss. Yep, basically. Okay, enough said. All right, so I'm going to actually start with the MP600 Basic because it's basically they're the same tool as the MP600. One has a replaceable cutter and the one doesn't. That's the only difference between the two. Both of these are passable, but they're due for a major update, right? They're due for a major update. I think that there's things they could be done. I don't know if they want to stick with the out the front system, but it is easy to service and it's got a really good ergonomics. So there are some advantages to it. If they want to stick with it, I just think they should just, I don't know, try some different setups. If nothing else, how about a T-shank holder? Not a rem grit holder because you can't find those anywhere, but like how about a T-shank holder in these things, right? Instead of the second blade, stuff like that. They really could, up this thing quite a bit. It's still passable. I would put it. Yeah, I like that arrangement a little bit better. Yeah, I like that better. All right, the last one for Gerber is the center drive, of course. And this one is definitely a staple. I wouldn't put it as high as the center drive plus, mostly because the secondary serrated blade is pretty useless. You have to spend a lot of time trying to get access. You have to push out the plier, open the handle, open the blade, close the handle, and then slide the thing back and slide the plier back in. And think how many steps that takes when you could have just used a knife and cut through whatever it is. It doesn't make sense to have a second blade. So it's technically a staple, and I think it's still good, but much worse than the center drive plus. You actually get something different, which is the scissor. Good cutting geometry on that scissor, by the way. It just doesn't have as much leverage as something like the Leatherman Surge. Okay. You know what's good to notice is that we're seeing like an upward trend. There's more irreplaceable tools than there are really crappy tools. So that's good. That's a good thing. Curious to see what you guys think so far. Let me jump over here and we'll take a look at the questions you guys have. Ooh. I haven't had this kind of issue. I'm curious to see what happened that would cause 5 plier breaks. What did you do with it? Is really the big question here. Keeping in mind that it's a multi-tool still. It's not a dedicated forged plier head, so you got to be reasonable with it. So I don't know what it took. It's possible that what you did is perfectly reasonable. It's hard to say. All right. How come I did include the dime? So we weren't including any keychain related plier based tools. So only the ones that are full size. I would argue that all keychain tools, they're just glorified tweezers. They're not really pliers, right? They just multiply your strength a little bit at the tip. They're not really something that's designed to hold a nut. I mean, they're really not. And so I didn't want to put them in the same categories together. That's the reason why there's nothing like that's the reason the dime's not there. That's also why things like the Leatherman Squirt are non-existent anymore. So I will answer this question. I'm only doing the big four here. So we're doing SOG, Gerber, Leatherman, and Victorinox. And besides, I can't rate a tool that hasn't technically come out yet. So there's that. If you carry a power pine in your keychain, you must have a very, very large keychain. 4.3 ounces. Nice. Love it. It is, but it is absolutely a plier head that, I would argue the plier head is actually stronger than even the Leatherman Skeletal. So pretty good plier head. All right. Any questions relating to Gerber in any way that you want to talk about? Anything at all? So just let me know and we'll go ahead and we'll answer those. So save that question about the Leatherman stuff for the Leatherman. I will answer those questions because that's a good question. And I do have an answer for you, but I want to kind of focus on Gerber stuff for now. All right, let's see. Anything else? This is a good question. Have you EDC to Gerber for any significant period of time? The only Gerber that I've done that with is the Gerber center drive. That's it. I have never found that the MP600 series made any sense to me with how much it takes to get things out. And then on top of it, you always have a handle in the way for any deployed implement. The center drive has been pretty good to me so far. That is something as well. And the reason speaking of the MP400, it's not on the list because they don't have it listed on their website anymore. It's no longer around. They discontinued it, unfortunately. Yeah, that's the only reason I like the MP400. I think it's a great tool. I think that the MP400 is probably just worse than the Gerber Crucial. I hope they bring something like that back. That would be great. So, Asinine Mind, I don't know the answer to this question because it requires more context. Let's get to the end of the thing, and then I will definitely answer that question for you. Yeah, the price for the Gerber dime has gone up a lot. I think they're like 25 now for sure. 25 for sure. One of the reasons I wanted to do this list, as far as picking your first multi-tool, if you go with something that is irreplaceable, at least you know that currently, at least, nothing is going to be better for that particular purpose for which you chose that tool. You know what I mean? All right. So to answer, since you're not going to be around that long, let me answer this question. I don't think anyone should choose the Leatherman Arc as their first tool. Anyone, for any reason. Okay, never should anyone choose the Arc as their first tool. Absolutely not. The two tools I would recommend if you're starting out, they're going to last you a long time. If you choose to never get anything else, Leatherman Bond or Curl. Leatherman Bond or Curl is the two tools I would recommend right now. The Bond is the safer of the two, and I'll explain why when we get to the Leatherman section. You'll never replace it. There's currently nothing that can replace that tool. I just gave you a hint. It's definitely in the irreplaceable category. That's my recommendation. Also, the Roxxon Flash is a surprisingly good tool at a lower budget range of around 43 as a first tool. Like it's much better. The Elite version, sorry, the Flash Elite. Very important. Okay, I think we're all chomping at the bit to see what's happening with Leatherman. I think a lot of the questions are targeted at that, so I don't want to delay too much getting to that section. We're going to go ahead and go do it unless there's another question that pops up in just the next second or so. All right. We're going to go ahead and we're going to jump over. All right. Does Gerber use a coating on their blades? I believe they are mostly black oxide. However, if you go to their custom shop, and you get the red and black, that's a DLC coating. And I have a blue one, which is for the Father's Day. It's awesome, by the way. The Father's Day version, which is blue blade, it's definitely a DLC coating. It's not what do you call it? I can't think of the words right now, but yes, it's coated. Do any Gerbers currently have a role in any situation for you? The center drive is the one that takes the cake for me, as is the dual force. Both of those tools, the center drive is the tool I walk around my shop with because I need the length potentially. It has all the right combination of tools. It's replaced most of the heavy duty tools for me. And the dual force, I've actually kept in a variety of different bags, tool bags, as a compact secondary option because of its ability to adjust its size. Both of those tools have made it into different places for different reasons. And because the dual force is so much cheaper, you can actually get a couple copies. And in some cases, it really makes a difference. It uses standard bits, and I really, really like that. So yeah, both of those tools absolutely make it into a ton of different things. The third one is the PowerPoint, but I will tell you, I never carry that tool because I mostly always have a full-sized version. So in this case, like today, I'm carrying the uh, Spirit MX clip. That's what I was trying to say. So those three. Wait, what did I say? PowerPoint? What am I talking about? That's not a Gerber. So yeah, it's just those two then. So the dual force and the center drive, like plus, I guess is what's called. Those two. I don't think there's. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on this list. Nope, that's it. That's pretty much it for me. Possibly, it could be a very specific request from a government contract, and that would make perfect sense because they do a lot of work for the government. So that would make sense to me for them to do it very specifically and that was requested of them. But I still wonder why they couldn't just put the cutter on the back of an actual blade, right? We've seen it before. It should be done like that. I don't see why it wasn't. That's my thoughts. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and go over to Leatherman because it has the most by a long shot. In fact, let me check. I think I had 15 models. No, there are 22. 22 models for Leatherman. So comparatively, they make up almost half of the total plier-based multi-tools. So we're about to expand this list quite a bit. Yep. Well, a lot of what MacGyver did though is because he was so smart, because he had skills in his, in his brain. We all hope to have less tools and more skills eventually, but you got to start with having at least some tools with you. Why the recommendation for the Bond over a Swiss tool is Spirit? The reason is because its price, its quality control is very high. It only weighs 6 ounces. It has a pocket clip that you can add to it, and it's legal in almost every country on the planet because it has non-locking blades. So even if you were to get the Spirit, there's plenty of places you can't take it because it's locking. So that's why the Bond is standout. I guess we'll start with the Bond when we get to Leatherman. All right, let's go on and let's take a look at the rest of the list. What do you think, guys? Let's go do it. All right. All right, it is time for the big boys. Leatherman. There are 22 models to talk about. So yeah, there's going to be a wide variety of tools in different categories. The first one, I guess it's interesting, and I didn't rearrange these. It's just the way it came. So we'll start with the Leatherman Arc. Okay, here's what's weird about the Arc. It's in only one of two places here for me. It's either passable or irreplaceable. And it really depends on your context. I've tried to figure this out. The problem is the price is so jarring. It's not something everyone could access. So how can something be irreplaceable that very few people can afford or justify? It's really hard for me to say that. And yet it has a Magna Cut blade, a really good tool set, one-handed capable tools, most of which are left-handable. For now, I'm going to put it in irreplaceable category. And basically because there's nothing like it on the market right now. From its tool set to its system, it's also the only current production Leatherman that's USA made. Truly. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but it's the only one with the USA stamp on it. The P2 and the P4 have been discontinued. So I would say currently irreplaceable in their lineup. Yeah. Yeah. Now that might change if they create some updates for the P2 and the P4 and they release those just like the ARC tool set, but just lower materials. But for now, it is irreplaceable. And I think that's where I'm going to keep it for that reason. All right. We're going from the ARC to the Wave. Come on. It's a staple, obviously. I mean, obviously, where does this thing sit? I mean, it's here at least in the top of the staple category. Not irreplaceable though, not by a long stretch. With how many clones that are existing, and this is one of the reasons I made yesterday's video, this tool needs an update badly. They can't just let this sit. They could fix some things. They could make the serrated blade have a lower profile so that it doesn't create hand pinch. There's a bunch of things they could do. They just need to kind of take it on and actually just create a new version of it. I think it would be great, but still best-selling multi-tool of all time. It's 100% a staple. I'm actually going to put it, I'm going to put it here. Yeah, because I'd still put it above the MX, the Swiss Tool MX clip. Just barely, but yeah, I would. All right. Yeah. I like that. All right, Wingman. Dumpster fire. I'm sorry. I had to. It's the way I feel about it, but it's not real. I mean, it's not really a dumpster fire, okay? There are much worse tools out there. That would not be fair. The Wingman's irrelevant. Wingman's irrelevant. It's because Leatherman created a tool that has a strictly better tool set. It's barely a little bit heavier. The quality control is better in every way. The blade is better in every way. The file is better in every way. It has, I mean, just so much better. I'll get to it in a minute, but it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant because it's doubled in price. It went from $30 to $70, and the quality control has dropped dramatically. We've talked about the plier issues. It's almost dumpster fire. Okay, let me put it that way. All right, rebar. I mean, rebar is a staple. It's a good tool. It's a good tool. It's not a passable. I couldn't put it in the passable category. It has to go in the staple category. It's the weight of it too. It's like 7.1. It's light. You can put it in your pocket. It kind of embraces the original PST. It's just a little, if it was any lighter, it would be absolutely a rock star. I don't know if you could make it any lighter than it already is though, without severely hurting its strength, like putting holes in it or making it lighter. But the rebar just has a great tool set. Everyone says, oh, what about the scissor? Skill replaces a lot. Excuse me. The only thing you really need scissors for in a day-to-day, they're one of two categories. Hygiene, where using a knife blade is kind of dangerous, and cutting fibrous materials that you don't want to rip as you cut them. So if you hold something tight to cut it with a knife, it tends to fray. But if you cut it with a scissor, it won't fray. That's those two aspects that really where the scissor excels. And and the weird part about scissors is you kind of need different sizes. So rebar does a really good job with what it has. And I actually think it's one of the best serrated blades that they make. Super shallow serrations, super slicey. I've cut myself badly with that thing because it's just so damn sharp. It's crazy sharp. Excellent tool. Where does it sit? It sits at least here. Swiss tool. It definitely sits above that. I'm putting it here. Yeah, right? Yeah, I like that. Okay. Skeletal. Absolutely passable, no question. And it's definitely above these. The Agus MT, is it as good as I think it is? Probably not. It's probably like there. Okay. It's a little bit better. I'm still working on that list. All right, so Skeletal, it's just passable. Really comes down to the pliers not being that strong, but it was the right concept. It's still the right concept. I think they did a good job. I even saw a recent update. They got rid of that Teflon washer, put in some bronze washers. Love the update, but there is a better tool, a strictly better tool, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Super Tool 300. Come on, yeah, absolutely irreplaceable. Why is this irreplaceable where the Swiss tool or the Swiss tool X is not? This is an important thing. And I had to think about this a lot. But unlike the Swiss tool or the Swiss tool X, the Super Tool 300 can have all of its implements opened while wearing a pair of gloves. You can actually take out the implements because there's enough space in the handle. You can reach in there, pull everything out, and select the tool you want and stick it all back in. It also has better pliers than the Swiss tool does, and it's also a little bit lighter. It's a great tool. One of the longest saws they have. Just yeah, it's currently in Leatherman's lineup, and actually just in general, I don't think anything replaces the Super Tool 300. Such a good tool. My goodness, where does it sit? It definitely sits above the Dual Force. I know that. These don't. This doesn't belong here. It's just because of that thing, that having the left-handed blade. I guess this goes up here, something like that. Yeah. It could go even higher. I'm actually gonna put it here. Yeah, I mean, it really should be. It's almost at the top of the list. They really, if they mess up the Super Tool 300, I don't think anyone will let them live it down. It's Super Tool has just been a great tool ever since they came out with it. The one thing they need to do with this thing is make that stupid file a diamond file, for God's sakes. Just that's it. It's all they got to change. Make it from that file it has, take rid of that straight cut section and put a diamond file on it. I mean, it's instantly going to sell like immediately. So easy. All right, the TTI. Let's talk about the TTI. Dumpster fire. No, it's not a dumpster fire, obviously. It's definitely not irrelevant, okay, because it is kind of unique. It has S30V blade steel, it has titanium handles, but it's just passable. The problem is that they put titanium handles on it, which in theory would lighten the thing, but it doesn't because it's a solid slab of titanium. They didn't mill it out in any way. So what ends up happening is it's much heavier at like 9.6 ounces or something ridiculous like that. Like it's over an ounce heavier than the Wave and the Charge Plus, and it's somehow less ergonomic than the Charge Plus. Anyway, it's thicker, it's heavier, and the S30V blade is really overrated because it's chippy compared to the 154 CM, which is also much easier to sharpen on the fly. That's how I feel about it. It's passable. It's definitely above these. This really doesn't belong here at all. This would be over here. So expensive. Anyway, something like that. We'll start moving on. All right, the bond. Well, you already talked about this briefly, but I'm going to make it very clear. The Leatherman bond, it's like here. All right, the Leatherman bond is absolutely irreplaceable right now in the marketplace. Like it's not close that this is irreplaceable. I cannot emphasize enough. Having a high quality tool at a low price point with Leatherman's warranty at 6 ounces that has, in many ways, a strict improvement over every little aspect that was in the original PST, minus the weight. That was the one thing that it didn't. It's just amazing. And it allows you to take a tool anywhere in the world. You can go to the UK and you can use the bond. You can go to Canada and use the bond. You could go anywhere basically that has a 3-inch or less blade law and it'll work. And if you lose it, God forbid, you lose the tool, it's not the end of the world because it was a reasonable price. So now this goes at the top. It goes at the top. Yeah, and actually this is a good tool, but I don't know if it actually maybe like that. No, like that. Put this down here. All right, I have to think about this again. But I mean, the bond is I said this is the tool to buy if you're going to buy a Leatherman. If you haven't bought any tools at all ever, buy the Bond, because even if you want the one-handed EDC tool, this is a better like tool to just slip in your pocket because it's so light. You'll just forget it's there. Very few tools can do that, and it has the ability to use a pocket clip. So, and they've made some improvements to the blade recently on top of everything else. Yeah, I made a whole video on it. Go check it out. Bond, absolutely irreplaceable right now. No question. All right, moving down. All right, so the signal. The signal, yeah, it's not irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It's a pretty cool tool. I carried it a lot. I really like this tool specifically for everyday carry, not for the outdoors, because that's an environment you're going to have multiple copies of the sharpener and the ferroceram rod and so on and so forth. But I do like it. It's probably at least there. Is it a staple though? I don't know. And the reason is it's really comes down to this thing. It comes down to the Roxxon Flash Elite. I think the Flash Elite really eats its lunch, especially now that they've raised it to 140. I think that's a really tough sell. It is a very compact tool. It is a good tool. I like it a lot, but it also has a very awkward use of the internal implements. So that's a problem. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna move it up here. It's not as good as the rebar. It's probably not as much of a staple as the Center Drive Plus. It's definitely better than the SOG tools. Speaking of that, this is definitely true as well. Because at least the Center Drives are both made in 420HC. The power locks are made in basic 420. So there's no way they could be higher than the Center Drive. Yeah, they're definitely at the bottom of that tier. They might even just be in the passable tier. I might move them down, frankly. Okay, the Leatherman Curl. This is a staple for sure. But you guys are going to hate me for this. That's where it belongs. The Leatherman Curl is where the Wave used to be. It's lighter than the Wave. It doesn't have any issues to go with the replaceable cutters, which is happening with all the Leatherman tools. It has the reamer all, which is what we've wanted for the longest time. The internal tool set, in fact, is exactly what we want. It doesn't have locks on the internal tools, but the D10 is so strong, it almost isn't necessary. It has a diamond file. This is one of the only tools with the Leatherman bit system I've actually carried in the last 2 years. The only one. I've modified every other tool to not have that bit system because I don't like it. And the curl is the only one that I carried. Everything else has not done it. Yeah, the curl. I would even put it above the Wave right now. $30 cheaper than the Wave. $30 cheaper. And only missing what? One function, the saw. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're talking about the micro driver, but I wear glasses for all the time, and I've never used a micro driver in my entire life. Like literally never used it. The only time I ever needed it is when I'm working on watches, and I always have the right tools with me when I'm doing that. So I guess in theory I could do it when I'm traveling, but I've never had it happen. Never had it happen. Okay. The Mutt. The Mutt. Oh man. You want to talk about a beautiful piece of engineering? There is nothing on the market that's like the Leatherman Mutt. Nothing comes close to the Leatherman Mutt. Yeah, yes, the price went up insane. It went from like 145 to 190 or something like that. Let me see what I wrote down here. What did I write? How much is the Leatherman Mutt? 200. Oh my God, 200 bucks. Okay, that hurts, but it doesn't change the fact that it's an irreplaceable tool. It is specifically designed to be a complement to the AR-15 platform, and it does a very good job at just being a general good use tool. It has a punch, it has a carbon scraper, a bronze scraper. It has multiple storage for bits. You can do all kinds of crazy mods to it. It has this cool cutter built into it. I mean, the whole thing is a masterpiece of engineering. It really is. I mean, it is irreplaceable, but it's so specialized. The problem with it and moving it up in this list is it's so specialized, right? And it's almost the cost of the arc. So it's absolutely irreplaceable, but it can't jump up that high. I'm just gonna move these down. Yeah. Um the only reason those spirits, by the way, are the Swiss tools are there, they're black is if they were actually not coated and they were a lot cheaper, they would be higher on the list. But it's because the coating costs extra for no stupid reason. I mean, anyway, too much. It's too much for the coating. That's the reason they're dropping. But no, the mud is amazing. The mud is amazing. Okay, Skeletool CX. Now this is exactly why the Skeletool is passable, because the Skeletool CX is absolutely stable. It's kind of like having a folding knife, right? 5 ounces. It's a folding knife with benefits. 154 cm steel. I love that steel. It's really good. Doesn't have vanadium in it, so it's easy to sharpen, but still better edge retention than 428C. This is a staple, and it is absolutely above these. It is somewhere right here. Yeah, rebar still beats it in my opinion. Better pliers, but absolutely staple. They could do with an update. Just make, I don't know, the pliers stronger or something. I don't know, but definitely a good tool, no question. A very, very good tool. Okay, Charge Plus. Charge Plus. This is another one of those you guys are going to get on me for, but I'm not really. I'm thinking about them based on value, not specifically cost. The Charge Plus is better in every way I could imagine when it comes to comparing it to the Wave. It has a strictly better serrated blade. It has much better ergonomics, like significantly better ergonomics, and it has a 154 cm blade, that perfect middle ground. The Charge Plus is awesome. If I was going to pick one, I wouldn't pick if I could pick one, the Wave or the Charge, I would skip the Wave entirely and go straight to the Charge Plus. 100%. No question. It's just the better tool. Yeah, full stop. Just a better tool. Anyway, Super Tool 300M. This tool is awesome. It's also awesome because it comes with both a bit extender and it comes with a bit kit, which is pretty unusual for 130 bucks. So very good value, cool tool set. Actually, this one is irreplaceable because it has unique tools. It has a really good pry tool, a really long reamer all scraper, and it has the bit driver system. I mean, this is definitely we're up here. We're like probably just above the mud here, something like that. Yeah. Super Tool 300. I love that platform like a lot, but that specific one, probably even more than Super Tool 300, is kind of replaceable. It's just not as universal, that tool set. The RX, like you would think it would be as good as the Leatherman Skeletal CX, and the fully serrated blade is pretty awesome. I like it a lot, but it's a niche thing, and you can buy that extra glass breaker bit for $5 on their website. So it's passable. It's good. Passable. Rev. Dumpster fire. Is that fair? No. No, it's not. It's not fair. It's going to go up in irrelevant category. No, it's not. It's going to go up here, actually. It's going to go in the passable category. And the reason is twofold. The pliers are better. There's no quality control issues like what they have with the Wingman. And it has a system that is technically legal in Germany, which is a two-handed blade that locks. So, I mean, it definitely can't be irrelevant. It's one of the few things that actually follows those rules. It's not a great quality tool, but the price is really good at 40 bucks. So yeah, I definitely put it. I'll put it. Where do I want to put it? It's got to be below the Skeletal. There's no way it goes above that. Yeah, Aegis MT is a little bit more interesting than the Rev in many ways. Okay, that's where I'm going to leave it for now. Okay, the Mutt EOD. This is a weird one because it's either irreplaceable or it's irrelevant, and I can't figure out which one it is. And that's because there is another tool, and I guess I'll do it right after this, that is probably in the same boat. The difference is that the Super Tool 300 EOD has a much better dedicated tool set for what it's trying to achieve than the Mutt EOD, which is kind of like a hybrid gun maintenance tool and also EOD. One of these two tools is irreplaceable. If and they're both kind of competing with each other, I don't know which one it is. So for now, I'm putting them both here, but one of them probably drops down, almost surely. I don't know which one it is. Let me know what you think. I don't know. I don't have the Mutt EOD. I know exactly what's different about it. I have multiple copies of the ST300 EOD. It's got a great tool set. I really like it. My personal preference is the ST300, but one-handed blade on the Mutt EOD, and then it can also for like actual people out there in the military, it's better. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's a hard one. Sidekick. Sidekick was better. Used to be much better. It's still passable because the tool set really isn't matched within Leatherman. But once again, we talked about it yesterday. The Roxxon Flash Elite, it's kind of eating its lunch. It's less expensive, better materials, better deployment, locking blades. The only thing the Sidekick has over it is weight. Like it's just lighter. It's easier to carry. But the Sidekick has that plier issue that's so common with it. So if you don't get one that's bad, hey, that's great. It still has that 25-year warranty. So definitely passable. Where does it sit? I feel like the Spirit needs to drop. I don't know why that's there. It's the coatings on these is not a good reason to have them be in existence. Anyway, and be that price. I mean, it's one thing if it's $10 or $15 more, but Jesus, $50 more. Give me a break. All right, Sidekick. No, it's not. It's not above the MP600. No way. No way. I would never put that above the MP600. Okay, knifeless rebar. Okay, this one's crazy. This is like the tool no one knows about. This is like everyone who has a folding knife says, "Oh, I'd never carry a multi-tool. I already have a blade or whatever." This is like the tool for you, right? This is that in-pocket tool. It's lighter than the Leatherman rebar, the base model. It has a scissor instead of the blades, and then it has everything else. It has the saw, it has the file, it's got all the stuff, right? Irreplaceable, 100% irreplaceable. Because there's just nothing else out there that does this job this well. Now that might change. The thing about the Roxxon Flex and these other things that are coming out is they're still much heavier. This is a much more comfortable in pocket kind of tool that complements everything. So yeah, irreplaceable. I think I like this tool a lot. It's not perfect. It has a little bit of an issue with the scissor kind of going through the cutouts for the spring. I saw this on a recent video. That's one little problem. Just be aware of it. But yeah, it's still irreplaceable. I definitely think so. So what do we have left? Aha! The bolster and the surge. Bolster. Well, I mean, it is passable. And it's passable only because they dropped the price $10 and now it's 50. But I mean, it's much worse than the Sidekick. It just is also much cheaper than it's $20 cheaper than the Sidekick. It has one tool different, but it's otherwise the same. Just passable, and I mean just. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. It's fine. It's fine. It's also 6 ounces. So it's pretty light. Yeah, that's where I'm leaving it. People are gonna hate me for that wingman thing, but I don't care. That's where I feel the wingman is. The scissors perform terribly. The partially serrated blade is done really badly. The package opener is buried in the tool, and everyone says, "Oh, the package opener," but by the time you pull that thing out, I've already opened the package with the blade. I stand firm on this. I don't think the wingman needs to exist because of the Leatherman curl. Okay, the surge. Let's be real here, guys. Even with the issues that we talked about yesterday, when it comes to competing with the clones, this tool still reigns supreme. This is the king of multi-tools, right? This guy is way the hell up in the irreplaceable category. If the Super Tool 300 is here, the Surge is standing right next to it, hand in hand. These two tools represent the best of what Leatherman is offering right now, in my opinion. The sad part is that these tools have been relatively neglected. We haven't seen many updates, but it doesn't change the fact that they are absolutely there. I will say this, though. Please listen to me on this. It's just a little thing to know about the Surge. Always get the stainless, never get the black oxide. Something goes wrong with the scissor heat treatment, and it's too flexible, and the scissors work a lot worse. Always get the Surge and the Super Tool 300 in the plain stainless. You'll thank me for it. They are excellent, irreplaceable tools. All right, there you go. Let me check this list. The Bond is there. PowerPoint. I'm going to put this here. Put this down here. Knifeless rebar, probably up here. I'm thinking dual force, blunt nose. Yeah, they're where they need to be, I think. Swiss Tool Spirit needs to go down because it's just a good, really, really good execution. Kind of like the Super Tool 300. It's above the arc for sure. It's probably right. No, it's here. It's here. It's here. I trust myself here. It's just too good. 800. Now I need to try these. I have good feelings about the MP 800. I'm actually looking forward to trying it. Yeah, the Wingman's staying irrelevant, so suck it. Bolsters where it should be. The Rev. TTI. All right, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I would change. That's where it sits to me. That's where it sits to me. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now's the time. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. So this is my list, and this is a public list, so it's easy enough for you guys to make your own, and you can change what the criteria is. So I said irreplaceable to basically irrelevant. You can change it to anything you want. All right. So let's go ahead and check things out. All right, and we're going to start with this question right here. This one's easy. The P2 and the P4, they haven't been in stock in 6 months, and they're not coming back. They've told every distributor that they're discontinued. They've been telling people in customer service experiences and communications that they're discontinued. They haven't formally stated it. They're gone. That's why. And it makes me annoyed because actually I think there was a lot of positive things about them. They only had to change a couple of things. And it's not necessarily the bit kit thing that needs to change. But yeah, that's why the P2 and the P4 aren't there. I wish they could be, but they're not. They haven't been in 6 months, and it looks like they're discontinued. All right. All right. Yep. Any modern Leatherman that's around the same size and weight as the Leatherman PST. I'm glad you asked. The Leatherman Bond is the tool, man. I'm telling you. It's exactly the same tool set, in some ways improved. Every little bit that they did to get up 1 ounce heavier is an improvement. Much more robust pair of pliers, much better file, much more robust Phillips driver. It has better ergonomics. It is literally the PST in modern form. They could not have done it. I honestly, with the new update to the blade, I don't think they could have done it much better. It's the spiritual successor of the tool. There you go. Boom. Oh, this is such a good question. You know why this is such a good question? Because it's exactly what a new video is I'm going to be doing soon, where I'm going to build up starting with one tool and then kind of add from there. Okay, so one tool is this one right here. I would pick the Swiss Tool MX Clip over every tool on the market right now. If I could only keep one, I would keep this one. Not close because of its versatility. Excuse me. It's super thin and easy to carry. The tool set is so complete. It doesn't need anything. And I don't have to carry a bit kit or any sort of random stuff with it. The dedicated Phillips, the quality of the tools. This Phillips, by the way, is forged. It's not cast, it's forged. So it's a lot stronger than most other tools out there. It's got a real pry tool. It's riveted, so it's super strong. There are some drawbacks, don't get me wrong, but if I had to pick one and I wasn't going to change it from what it was coming originally, if I wasn't modding, this is the tool I'd pick. I would pick that tool, 100%. And then I would add to it, and this is going to be crazy, I would add the Gerber center drive as a second tool, the Leatherman Bond, because I need something I can travel overseas. And then what else would I add? What else would I add? I don't know. I have to think about that. That was part of the video. I'm going to work on it. It has gotten a lot worse. Okay, I want to be clear. I have old original Leatherman search scissors. They cut like a dream. So they've gotten worse over time, unfortunately. The quality control has dropped so much to the point that the Surge clones are absolutely smashing it when it comes to scissor performance. Like so much better. It's scary. Worse steel, but if they ever update the steel with a better steel, that Leatherman's in trouble. That's my thoughts. Did I miss something? I like Super Tool and the rebar. The Super Tool 300, if you're going to pick one between the two, the Super Tool 300 is my pick. And it's also currently my pick if you're doing a lot of outdoors activities. Nothing to lose. That's very important. No loose components to fall out and be lost while you're out. And it has just the right combination of tools. Like I said, you can deploy everything with gloves on, right? And if everything gets frozen together, if you take the like one of these Swiss tools out and it gets water in it and then frozen, you'll never get this thing open again. So the thing with warranty replacements for Leatherman tools, they keep a massive stock ready to rock and roll. So you don't have to worry about warranty replacements. Leatherman will always back up their warranties up to 25 years. They're very good about this. As much as I critique them, their warranty department and the things they do, at least in America, at least if you live here in America, do a great job, and you'll have no problems getting a replacement. And here's the funny part: if they can't replace it, they'll give you an equivalency. Which, if they do an updated P2 and P4, it will be the new model, which is even better. This is a great question. Hell no. Hell no. Those Leatherman bits are garbage. They should have discontinued them years ago. It's their addiction to gouging people for money that makes them exist in these tools. Yeah. Like they have this kit that's like the rebar converter, which allows you to use 1/4 inch bits. This bit around one of the long. It's been around since like what was it? The kick and the fuse and the blast. It's been around that long, and it's just a better system than having the bit holder because you still get the long independent Phillips that fits into recessed screw areas. And yeah, no, it doesn't belong in those tools. Sorry, it doesn't. I don't agree. It could be done so much better. They're just so low quality. I'm sorry, they just are. All right, pretty much agree. Feel like the arc should be above the Gerbers, and the PowerPoint should be below the arc. I don't think that's ever going to be the case for the simple fact, at least in my list, because the PowerPoint is something anyone can afford. Whereas, unlike the arc, which is almost no one can afford it. And even if you can afford it, there's a difference between being able to buy something and feeling like you're able to use it as it was intended. I will tell you from my experience, I have bought knives that I loved and sold because I wasn't using them as knives, right? I was treating them like I should be coveting them or whatever it is. Like I wasn't treating them like the tools that they were, and I sold them. There's going to be a lot of people that buy an arc that do exactly that. And it will never be up. It might not even be in the irreplaceable category. In fact, as soon as we get an updated version of the P2 and the P4, it won't be. Why is the wave a staple? I mean, it still combines all of the right things. Like there's a reason why it's the best selling tool out there. It just has the right weight, the right combination of tools for the most part. It could be slightly improved. We've talked about that. Like, and I don't like the bit driver system. I would change it, but that's just me. Um, but no, it's absolutely a staple. It holds up. I mean, I have Leatherman wave tools that are 20 years old. They're still champs. They still work great. I have ones from every era. They're always very, very durable. They're just awesome. Oh, where would the old Leatherman mini tool rank? I mean, come on, it's irreplaceable. You ever seen that thing? Is incredible. What a feat of engineering. I mean, that was, you know what's amazing? That was his second time out, his second tool. Is that not insane that he came out with the mini tool and we've never seen anything like it since? Isn't that incredible? It just blows my mind how good that mini tool was. Unbelievable. At some point, like, I need to do like a what do you call it? Like a history. Like we'll do like the golden age, and then we'll move on to the next couple. Like we'll start at the beginning and talk about them and move our way up. That'd be kind of cool. Which tools could jump up a tier in the list if they made one tool? Ooh, that's a good question. It's a good question. One tool replacement. All right, let's see. The curl. The curl could become irreplaceable very easily if they swapped out, at least in my head, if they swapped out the diamond file for a saw and they swapped out the bit driver for for the solid Phillips. I know that sounds weird, and some people would call that a downgrade. But for me, having a tool I don't have that has everything built into it, with nothing I need to access, and like no bit kits, no nothing, would be amazing, right? It would replace the skeleton. Sorry, the sidekick straight up. Um, I like that one. I think that would be a good change. Let's see. Oh, the center drive, like center drive plus and the center drive. Both of those could go up to irreplaceable tier if they replace the prying tool, which is cast and isn't that great, and their serrated blade or scissor with a T shank holder, right? That would actually put it in line with even something as good as the Leatherman Surge, close to it. It would be a much closer representation, I think. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. Good question, though. Really good question. Oh, how would the Wave and Surge clones sit in this list? That's a good question. Um, at their price points, how could you possibly rate them lower than a staple? Uh, I've seen enough reviews of them at this point to know that they're holding up to people's like daily lives, which is impressive. And so at the price points of like $35 for a Surge clone when the original's 150, I mean, it's going to be a staple probably. Some of them are more passable than staples, but they're somewhere in that range. So we're not doing Roxxon or Byberry in this list, man. We would have taken forever. I mean, we're already an hour and 45 minutes, and I was flying through it at some point. That's my hope. What you're saying right here, Cody, that they do the P2 and the P4 just with the arc tool set and a non-magna cut blade at a lower price point. That's exactly what I'm hoping they're doing. Like right now, I don't foresee them letting the arc be the only tool utilizing the free series platform. That would be insane for them not to to take what they've learned and apply it to the other free series tools. I actually began to appreciate the P2 and the P4 more for different reasons, but they from a sales perspective, they should absolutely learn from that and do something different. I am not particularly good at this, the problem with that is they're all good. Like they're mostly all good, and so how do you rate? It's all context. If we do a Swiss Army knife tier list, that's the problem. It's all context. They're all really good. Okay. All right. I have So a lot of people say I have to have a scissor, but let me ask you this, and everyone watching this, what's stopping any of you from adding a Victorinox jet setter to your keys right now? What's stopping you? They are going to be better scissors than anything, including the Leatherman Wave, the Leatherman Curl. Those scissors are going to perform better. They're going to be more precise, and it alleviates the need for any scissor in most multi-tools. What is anyone's reason to want to have it in the larger tool when you could just add it to your keychain in a small form that can then go with you on a plane, right? And it has a small Phillips, something not all Leathermans have, that can still fit in recessed screws. See what I mean? Like what's why have the scissor when on that when you can simply separate it and it weighs like an ounce, less than an ounce, like I don't remember how many grams, like 30 grams or something like that. Who does the knife for the arc? I mean, well, Leatherman does the whole thing in house. It's made of magna cut steel, which is from Crucible. I don't know who does the heat treatments. All right. Do you think they'll do magna cut in Wave Charge Series or Skeletal? If they're smart, they will. If they're smart, I think the first candidate for that is probably going to be this like a Skeletal, right? I think a Skeletal makes a lot of sense, but maybe something even more upgraded than what they have right now. But like that makes sense, right? Because it makes a Magna Cut folding knife with plier as a benefit. Uh, I hope they beef up the plier though a little bit. But yeah, that's where I would put it if I was going to do another one, or I would do a P2 equivalency, but with Magna Cut blade. Please not partial serrations. My goodness, that would be such a travesty. All right. So you did miss it. They're discontinued, so they're not included on the list. They're not available on their website, haven't been for 6 months, and it doesn't look like they're coming back based on all the information that I've gotten so far. That's the only reason. I would love to have ranked those guys. They would have made it in the staple category very easily. And I would love to have explained why they are so much better than I realized. But yeah. Signal and Mutt both have onboard bit storage. The Signal does not. Now, if you want to get an add-on that allows you to store an additional bit, that's true. That's true, but not standard. Uh, any chance of a multi-tool value tier list, like taking into consideration the price, modability, quality control? Yeah, I mean, we can use the same tier list and we can do value, right? We can do that if we want. We want to. Um, we definitely could. I mean, I could go rearrange it right now if I wanted to. But let me just give you a couple of like in this group of there's only a couple of tools that I would say are super high value. The Lemon Bond, super high value. The Super Tool 300M, really good value. PowerPint, very good value. Curl, I'd put it not like super high value, but it's definitely worth it. The Spirit MX Clip, absolutely a great value for what you're getting. No questions asked. Absolutely. And that's probably about it, honestly. Everything else is about right, priced correctly or a little bit overpriced. Like those are the ones that really stick out to me as being super high value, or at least good value. Like the curl is good value. It's a good tool, so yeah, I kind of answered that, but I would probably put it in the staple category. They would sit somewhere underneath they would be like somewhere near the rebar, like around where the rebar is. I think both of them sit there pretty comfortably. EOD has to do with demolition experts. So the EOD is specifically designed for people who do demo work that need the crimper and other aspects of that. I don't remember the exact terminology, unfortunately. All right. Explosive. Thank you. Explosive ordnance disposal. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. I have gotten through TSA through 7 or 10 airports at this point with the jet setter. No one's even like people have looked at it. Like coming back from Italy, people looked at it and they're like, "Oh, it's fine. No big deal." Like it, it's a combination of being a Victorinox, but also like you can clearly see that there's nothing else besides the scissor and the screwdriver. It's also cheap enough. It's like not going to break my, break the bank if someone does eventually take it or have a bad day. Is there a clone of Siegel? Oh yeah, there is a clone, but it's funny enough. It's not of a signal. It's like if a wave had the hammer on one side. There is a whole series of these things on, and if you look at my last video from yesterday, I have a master list to all of the budget-oriented multi-tools, and you can find them there. There's like a whole bunch of them. I put them in that list, and that's what I'd refer you to because you can compare the prices. They're basically the same thing. They're just different colors and they're different prices. So just go with whatever's cheapest. But it's the same people making them. Check those out. They're really cool. Why do you think they can the P2 and the P4? All right, here's why. They in 2019 they did this entire campaign. They spent millions of dollars probably on advertisements. They went to trade shows. They talked to people, and what they told them was that it's going to be better than the Wave. That was their statement. They said it multiple times. Better than the Wave. Clearly, we could all tell it didn't have the same tool set, so it didn't make sense to do that. And on top of it, when people got it, it had major problems that they could have addressed had they got outside influence. So, and it was more expensive, and they wanted that made in USA thing, that USA stamp, to be worth more to people than it actually was. And it just shows like how people valued things because you could buy the curl for like $50 less than MSRP. That's never happened with the Wave ever. Okay, ever. Uh, it just didn't have the right tool set. And it reminded people too much of things like the Wingman tool set and the Sidekick tool set, which were really mediocre. It had very similar looking tools, and it just rubbed people, I think, the wrong way. Especially the people who worked in the trades were like, "What the heck, man? We've been supporting you guys for years. Where's our piece?" Like they made this thing that was kind of more for new users, but didn't have a new user price. Not a good combination. Uh, let me see if I. Why is the Go tool not included? I only included the four major companies, so SOG, Gerber, Leatherman, and Victorinox, because they have like I think the lowest one here had 9 models to work with. These companies are just getting started. They will eventually start being in this tier list, and I'll eventually add them. I will, but they haven't had enough experience yet. There's not enough people out there talking about them just yet, and I think they just need some time. All right. Uh, oh, so if you're talking about like the serrated blades that they have, where there's a small flat section on the front, but then the rest of it's serrated, I love those types of serrated blades. Whether it's the one in the rebar, and actually the scale tool RX is my favorite one, 154 cm, really slicey, and not very deep serrations. The biggest problem is that a lot of times they do these serrations, they put them so deep they bind up on materials. But no, I think the serrations are really underrated. Fully serrated blades. Partial serrations, not so much. Like the ones that are like a quarter or like a half, that they no, no. Mm-mm. Have you mounted a scissor to the dual force? I've talked about this in the past. You are much better off because you're going to carry it in a sheath anyway. Just get yourself a little Klein electrician's safety scissor. They're going to cut better than any multi-tool scissor in existence, like by a lot, and it's going to fit perfectly in your sheath, right? Be real. I mean, just sometimes it's better to have a second tool than to mod something that, and actually in the case of the dual force, there's nothing to get rid of. Everything on it is pretty much like, it's pretty good. Like you're giving up something major if you do that. So I just say stick a scissor in your thing, or put a small Victorinox in there, like something like that. It's a good question. If you could create a multi-tool, would you focus more on trying to be as general as possible, or trying to fit a very specific hobby or job? For me, the thing that I feel is missing the most from the marketplace is a very well built, very compact, simple multi-tool that doesn't do too much. Imagine the Leatherman scale tool, but just way, way better. Like a true full size plier head, 5 ounce total weight, sub 3 inch blade, a single long implement that is on the opposite side that can be replaced and changed out for a different long implement, and a screwdriver. That's all I want in my multi-tool, and I want it to be as light as possible. I want a true blade replacement that I could use daily instead of a folding knife, that has the pliers, a screwdriver, and the blade, along with one extra long tool, and allow anyone to swap that long tool out for something different. That's all I need. That's all I want. I wish that existed, but it fortunately doesn't really exist. Not in any high quality. I mean, I think the curl is the right form factor. Maybe seeing that a little bit lighter, a little skeletonized would be great. Something along those lines. Oh, if the crunch was around, it'd be easily in the irreplaceable category, right next to the Bond. I mean, right at the very, very tippy top. But the problem, as the crunch was finishing up, the quality control was dropping too. So it's really hard to put it firmly in that spot. It's irreplaceable though, 100%. It was only like 7.4 ounces, and it had a full quarter-inch bit driver, where every other Leatherman uses that stupid proprietary system. So yeah. Oh, the fuse? I like the fuse. The fuse is basically just a rebar though, with less tools. So I mean, the thing is, the rebar is an improvement over the fuse. The only drawback that you have is that they have these weird tabs on the rebar that stick out with the lock bar. If you file those down, it's basically a wash, and it beats the fuse pretty handily. So the rebar still sits way above it. Oh, this is easy. Right at the very tippy top of the tippy top of the irreplaceable category. And here's why. And I'm not saying it just because I love it. 5 ounces, okay? 5 ounces the original weight. And it has the same tool set as the Bond at 6 ounces. Maybe not as good, but it he hit the mark perfectly on the very first shot. What the bigger question is, the PST2, which had a different tool set and could be even better potentially than the PST, maybe. Yeah, I actually would rate it higher, although the scissors were not as good. I mean, if they just made the Leatherman Bond, but like the PST2 variation with a diamond file on the inside, oh my god, that'd be so good. Can you imagine? I don't like the problem with partial serrations is they're rarely, if ever, done correctly. They're done like what happened on the P2, where they were super deep. They didn't have a starting point that allowed the material to pull through. It would just get caught. And yeah, they're rarely done properly. Rarely, if ever. And a lot of times people kind of sharpen them right. So that's a lot of the reason why I don't like it. Oh, the flare? The flare is cool. But like the Leatherman flare was really, really cool. I have one. I'm so excited. I got one that was like almost pristine. it is just a unique tool. I technically irreplaceable, but no one really needs it. You know what I mean? Like it completely silly and awesome is where that thing sits. Yeah, the reason I made it this way is because context is everything. You can sample from that irreplaceable category and find one that's better for you, and it depends on what you're looking for. Yeah, the PST is still the king. It was amazing. When you look at tool density at 5 ounces, there are very few tools on the market right now that actually compare. PowerPint is one of the few that actually has the tool density similar to the PST. The original wave scissors, I used them a lot, but man, they weren't that they were problematic because they kind of bent a little bit and sometimes the spring would pop out, but yeah, I liked it. So I'm going to, so I'm going to be taking this. This is a recording as well. I'm going to be taking this and shrinking it down. I won't be having these sections where we're answering questions. I'm going to just take the part where kind of line things up. I'll leave, of course, the live stream for people to watch whenever they want, and I will be breaking it down with chapters. So hopefully, people will be able to find what they're looking for as well. I don't think I'm qualified to do this. I really don't. I don't think I could even find the right context. The reason I was able to do this one is because I found something I was comfortable with. I don't know if I could do the keychain stuff. Why no Roxxon? So the Roxxon is just not part of the big four. So we were doing SOG, Gerber, Leatherman, Victorinox. That's it. Roxxon is almost there. Look, they have what, like 3 or 4 models now? If they get another couple, like the Flex is coming out in, what is it? Next tool is also, so the two that would be likely going on this list first are Roxxon and Next Tool because both of them make their own models. They don't like make clones and stuff. And yeah, I mean, they specifically Roxxon is really up their game. So it's going to take a little time, but maybe next year they will deserve to get on this list and reasonably so. I mean, I could see Roxxon skipping over SOG right now. I actually kind of like them. Um, one tool you missed is the core. It's one of my favorites. They move really smoothly. Like the pliers move really smoothly in connection with that Zytel insert. I think it's perfectly fine. I really like them, to be honest. Okay, so about the Blast. The Blast has the most comfortable handle, I think, of the rebar style. They were able to fit that locking bar in such a way that it almost perfectly shapes with the rest of the handle. I love the Blast. The same was true with the Fuse as well. Like the way they executed the lock button on that was so well done. I love those designs. Great designs. All of them. Did you ever mod any of your legends because you did? All of them. All of them. I think there's no Leatherman I currently carry except the curl. I carried a couple weeks because I like it regardless of that. And I haven't changed it yet, but I will. I have removed the bit holder in every single Leatherman that I currently carry, every single one of them, because I hate it so much. And it happened in 2022, November of 2022. I'll tell you what happened. I was working backstage, helping my daughter was in this um, little thing, and I was helping, and I had my holster, I had my multi-tool, my flashlight. I used everything. I used everything on that tool until I went to go unscrew something, and I had installed the T6 T8 bit because I was using it and I forgot to swap it back. And they had bits, but no screwdriver, and there's nothing I could do because I had proprietary system and I had no bits. And it was that I remember that moment. I remember going, This will never happen to me again. And I have not carried a single Leatherman consistently, except for the curl, that has the bit kit system. And I probably never will again. I refuse. And they made it easier for me because they got rid of them from all the stores and they made them more expensive. So it made it even easier to quit. Have I seen a pocket clip solution for the dual force? I don't see why you couldn't use the universal clips that they make for guns. You can stick them on. They use VHB tape, which is really, really strong and should work. I don't see why I wouldn't. Yeah, so once again, free P2, P4, discontinued, gone. So that's why they're not on the list. But they would be staples. The problem with, so here's the thing, okay? Even if you have an extension, you can't get into recessed holes no matter what. That's the problem. If you have a piece of electronic equipment or a toy and you're trying to unscrew a Phillips head screw, even if you have an extender, it's too wide to fit into those holes 9 times out of 10. You have to have a dedicated Phillips to get access to them, no matter what. That's the thing that you got to understand. Unless you have extra long bits, which no one carries those as far as 11 bits. I think only the Mutt has those. Ouch, that hurts. Like, here's the weird part. Like, if you use the rebar bit holder, right, you can basically get a better system than anything with the bit holder in it. Like, if you go with like a rebar and you get the rebar bit holder, like the bit extension thingy, it's just a better combination than having the included bit system inside the tool. Because if you go somewhere where you might lose it, you're never going to lose your Phillips. It's always going to be stuck in there. You're never going to lose it. You're always going to have the right tool, which is great. Did I cover the? Okay, there's the bigger Klein, and then there's the Klein safety scissors. I think they're actually called Heritage scissors. They're safety scissors. They're nice and small, but they're super good. I don't remember if I reviewed those or not, but check those out. I have to see. I don't know for sure if those scissors are there, but definitely they're good. I have them in my master list on my website. If you go to Amazon, somewhere in there. Okay, what time is it? I think it's time to head out. We're over 2 hours from where we started. Yeah, definitely has a better bit system. Are we talking about? Yeah, also like Milwaukee makes a really good fastback 6-in-1, which is awesome. Love that thing. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I had a lot of fun. I'm sure this is going to have a bunch of people really angry. People are going to roast me for the wingman thing. I don't care. I don't like it at all. Not when the curl exists, that's for sure. So much better. Okay. I feel good. I feel good finally having something up to start with. Now, this list could change, but for now, I'm pretty happy with it. Maybe things move around. I don't know. I'm going to take a picture of it, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, no, I thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming in. I really appreciate you guys hanging with me, asking the questions. It's always great to go back and forth. I really do appreciate it. Nice. If you actually found $50 crunch, you hit the lottery. I think they're like $300 right now. In fact, just for funsies, let's go to eBay. Let's just look. Let's just out of curiosity. Uh, let's see. Okay, let me go ahead and okay, let me show you this. All right, so check this out. So pre-owned at 220, brand new for 240. That's actually not bad. That's an old one too. That's nice. 22 bids, 182. 10 bids, 152. Brand new, 240. I mean, Jesus, look at this. Yikes. $400. Give me a break. All right, that's a bit much. All right, you get the point. You get the point. Yeah, no, the Surge is the king. Surge is the king. Still is, but if they don't do something quick, they don't fix the cutter issues, they don't like fix their quality control on the scissors and everything else, that will not be the case next year. They got a year to turn this stuff around, man. They got to at least work on their quality control. And they need to communicate with people saying, "Hey, we hear you. We're working on it." That's what they got to say. That's all. That's really what they have to do to hold on to things. That's really what they got to do. Okay, thank you guys for hanging out with me. It's been a blast. All right, so you guys have a good one. As always, thank you for your time.